5, 4,
Should I
3,
do my phone too?
5, 4,
3,
3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to No Rules. Mike Timmons, Tyler Relph here. Excited to talk about the NBA bubble today. That's kind of been the hot news on the streets as far as NBA's coming back. All the players are starting to check into the bubble now. We're going to kind of dive into what the bubble is and kind of our thoughts on how the NBA is reacting to it. But first off, we want to start the podcast by talking about an NBA draft prospect. Each time we do these, we're going to start doing those up until the draft. And today, we're going to talk about Jahmi'us Ramsey. Recently, T's had Jahmi'us in the gym, so he's kind of gotten a real live look at how he's progressing. And I'll go ahead and turn the mic over to you, T. What do you think about Jahmi'us?
Yeah, I think Jahmi'us is a kid that's going to help any team he's on right away again.
Yeah.
I think with him, defensively is going to be what you look at, what I think he's really, really good at. I think he can guard multiple positions. I think he can, switch onto that, 3, maybe /4, depending on what the lineup is, because he's strong. So I think defensively, right away, once he understands, the assignments and different coverages and stuff like that, I think defensively he's going to be great. Shooting it wise, he shoots it really good. I don't think offensively a team's going to ask him to do a whole lot. So I think, offensively, spacing in the corners, coming off DHOs, out of the corners, simple stuff like that, I think is what he'll be doing. Maybe some quick pins, that type of action. But for the most part, he's going to be a spacer the first couple of years. But, I think if he wants to keep progressing, he's got to work on his ball handling a lot. Got to work on his playmaking, coming off ball screens, being able to play off ball screens. But I think right now, for what he is, I think he's a lot like, like we said about Tyrese, is I think Jahmi'us can fit anywhere because he guards and he's willing to play a role. So again, I think he's of that same cloth. He's a competitor. He's a gamer. Like when we were doing live stuff, he was really good. But he has, if he wants to, you got your role players. If he wants to keep getting better, he's got stuff he needs to work on, which is, his handle and being able to play in ball screens and create shots for himself and others.
Yeah, one of the things filming Jahmi'us in high school when he was at Duncanville was the fact that, I know we like to call everybody dogs, and there's just different types of dogs, and he's no nonsense, wants to guard everybody. I've seen him take big name players out of games. So one of the things it hurts for him was the fact that there was no NBA combine, because he's a dude that in those NBA combines in live situations, that's where I think he would really showcase the fact that he doesn't care who's in front of him. Defensively, he'll take them away and go and try to kill everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, I think because of that mindset, there's going to be a role for him on any team. And honestly, if he doesn't play a lot early on, he's still going to make a team better in practice.
Oh, no question.
Because he's not one of those kids that's going to sulk because of playing time. He's going to bring it every single day, every single night. And that type of energy is infectious in the program.
I think he's just, like you said, I think he's an ultimate dog. I think he's that's probably, if I had 1, 2, 3, that would maybe be number one.
Yeah.
Just his competitiveness.
And people and everybody, you can say somebody's strong, but you look at him and you're and even you said a couple times y'all were just doing some dummy type of situations and
Yeah, he's stronger than some NBA guys that we've had already. Julius is probably one of the stronger NBA players, period. Yeah. I would say he's top 5 in the league strength-wise. But he was he's physical.
He's physical. His frame is so wide, so that shoulder bumping.
His body is NBA ready.
Yeah.
It's just his mind's got to get there, and I think if, he'll work and he'll get there, and keep getting better. But no, I love him. I think he's gonna fit well with any team that drafts him.
Right.
I think he's anywhere from 24 to 35-ish.
If he's back,
he'll go to a contender.
Yeah, go to a good team.
Yeah, and I think that's Like he would be great with the Lakers or great with, the Clippers and great with, any of those, like Toronto or, Philly or Boston. I mean, he almost fits the Marcus Smart role.
Yeah, I like that.
And that's,
and it's almost Marcus Smart with less nonsense.
Yeah, but Marcus, the one thing I've always loved about Marcus is he's so vocal. Jahmi'us isn't as vocal as Marcus, because Marcus was a point guard growing up all the way through the years. Jahmi'us was more of like an off guard, but he's not as vocal, but he brings the same characteristics as Marcus. I think, but I like that. I think that's the comparison. I think he's a Marcus Smart mold type. And I mean, Marcus has been phenomenal in the league. So, I mean, if he turns into Marcus Smart, he's gonna make a lot of money playing basketball.
So you two, Jahmi'us Ramsey, what do you know about him? Go watch some highlights, high school, college, Texas Tech product. Honestly, I think whoever your favorite team is, I think he fits there. Me being a Spurs fan, I'd love to have him there. You being
I like the Giants. So if
Giants
he wants
football,
to,
so that's all his sports.
He wants to play linebacker, it's fine.
So tell us your thoughts on Jahmi'us Ramsey. Last episode we broke down Tyrese Maxey. So if you want to go back, we'll have the link in our description below. Talk about Tyrese, and also let us know who you want us to break down in our next episode. So now we're back. The hot topic among sports when there's not a lot of sports going on is the NBA bubble. We've heard about it for a while, but now players are actually starting to pop into the bubble, for lack of better words.
Did you like that?
Not bad, huh?
That was weird.
So I think the greatest thing about this bubble situation is social media is so prevalent, so that we're going to get all the access, probably more access than the NBA wants us to have
for
the bubble very quickly.
J.R. Smith already did that.
J.R. Smith, Rondo, Pat Bev. So let's just kind of talk about it. They're at the Disney Wild World of Sports, and the first thing I'll say is, they're all millionaires, high level. Mm-hmm. So while these are very expensive hotel situations for the average family going to visit Disney World, to these dudes, I've already seen like the quote Motel 6.
Yeah.
There's a tweet in Motel 6 was like, well, we'll still leave the light on for you. But there's levels to this.
Yeah.
So let's just kind of like talk about, how the NBA players so far have been, adjusting and speaking on the situation, the living conditions.
I think you just got a bunch of different, ways to look at it. I think one is, if you look at the NBA, it's always been first class. So I think the players probably expected, it to be first class. Like they stay in the nicest hotels in whatever city they go to, which are all 5 stars, everything. And there's not enough space, and it's Disney World, so you don't have those like, they're all like right here. You don't have those upper echelons. Yeah. So I think that's it. I think another thing is, you got to look how much money is Disney's probably charging for these meals to the NBA. They're probably hitting them over the head for the meals. And it's not like the meals look horrible. It's just probably not what they're used to eating, and they have personal chefs, or they go out to eat.
Right, and the thing is there's a menu that it's not like, what do you want today, at whatever you want. Like they're getting specifically given, pasta and steak and stuff like that, where most of these dudes are like, I want to make the decision on what I want to eat. Mm-hmm. So that alone right there is probably throwing them off a little bit, knowing that you're going to get pasta for dinner. You may not be craving pasta.
Right. And so I think a lot of players maybe walked into it thinking like it was going to be here.
They probably walked into it thinking like this was going to be built from the ground up for us specifically.
Yeah. But it's still, and I think that's where people are, coming at. You have Jay Williams did a whole thing talking about, they should be thankful for what they get, because there's tons of people in the world right now, even in our country right now, that have lost jobs, struggling to put food on the table, and then, these guys go out there and they're like, oh, I don't want to eat this. The room's not nice enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's people that, don't know what their next meal is coming from, don't know where they're going to sleep. You know what I mean? And I think that's where some people look at the NBA players and are like they're spoiled. Like Frank Martin said, this one NBA player said to Jeff Goodman, it's trash, the food's trash. And Frank Martin said, you might want to tell a spoiled brat there's a whole lot of people in the world that would give anything to eat that meal. And I think Frank Martin's right. So I think they need to come down, realize how blessed they are.
Yeah.
And it's only 4 months. At most, it's only 4 months.
Right.
So realize how blessed you are, and they worked for it. So like you can't sit there and say, I think that's where it's like people think like basketball players just get handed things. Like these dudes work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like basketball players are workers. They work. People talk about 9 to 5. Some basketball players, like if you talk about eating right and taking care of your body, weights,
just think about
workouts.
An 82-game schedule, and like think about you as the average human being thinking about playing a back-to-back.
There's no way.
Minutes. You just can't do that. So you have to be in a specific shape that's almost unattainable by the normal human.
Yeah.
So like they're working, and like
Yeah, I just think like when Rondo compares it to a Motel 6, it's like, come on, man. Like let's not go that far.
But I do think that the disadvantage that the NBA is going to have was bringing these guys into the bubble so quickly with nothing to do. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you're not going to have Rajon Rondo, who, by the way, just fractured his wrist and is out 6 weeks. So he's out.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But, like, it's almost like coming into summer camp and, like, hanging out and stuff. They don't have any basketball, so it would be different. Like, Rajon Rondo's probably not going to tweet about how bad the food is if the Lakers go out and lose a game. He's not going to be tweeting that night about the food.
Yeah.
They don't have anything else to do or think about at this point. They're just now getting into the gym. So, I mean,
once the game started, I think
the game started, all this is
life goes
over.
back.
And I do think, but I mean, there's Troy Daniels right here. Shows like what they had, fresh garden greens, watermelon, pickled red onions, goat cheese, grilled chicken, fish parmesan, pasta.
It's just.
And also, the one thing I'll notice is that because they're in a bubble, it's not going to be served on a platter like you at a 5-star restaurant. So a lot of this food's probably very high quality food, but it's served to you in a to-go containers and stuff.
Yeah,
so a lot of these pictures that these players are taking, it's almost like they just mush it around like.
And it's how it looks too.
Yeah, it's the presentation.
So yeah, I think it's kind of.
But I mean, as far as the rooms, like I saw PJ Tucker. Went and upgraded his TV, which it's fine. And a lot of these dudes, honestly, the NBA is shifting now towards the gamers. So that's one thing. A lot of the videos you see, players are walking with their gaming consoles and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the things like that, like
because if you want
to upgrade your room, bro, that's your TV, like that's your prerogative.
You've been in your room for so long. I mean,
who cares? It's the oh man, we're not. It shows you sometimes like. When these guys speak so badly about how lucky they are to have what they have.
Yeah.
And again, they worked for that. So you don't want to take that away from them, but
at the same time, if you want basketball this bad, everybody wanted to play, and there was multiple.
Yeah, but I think you look at it like if you work at McDonald's, right? If you work from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., you're living a very like meal to meal life. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's where they got to go back and look, man, we're blessed. We're away from our families for a little bit or whoever.
The NBA is trying to be as safe as possible for us.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, I remember when I went to China for 5 weeks and I left Theo. Like, that 5 weeks was miserable for me. Miserable because...
Why was that?
Because I was away from my son for so long. I think that was the main thing. Being in a foreign country, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have that constant communication to, humans face to face. So it was at some point it was like, good Lord, like this is, and then comparably, like the food in China. I mean, what they're eating is way better than what I was eating.
Yeah.
But, if I had Theo there, it would have been way easier. Without him, that was the most difficult time I had traveling ever. But
I think a lot of the people outside looking at are going to be, and I agree to this somewhat. You're a professional, so you need to adjust and adapt if you're going to be a professional. Mm-hmm. There's living conditions, a lot of places where professionals, construction workers sometimes have to work in the rain and things like that. They still have to do the exact same job. And I see it both sides. I understand that all these NBA players are in control 100% of the time in their situation, and I get that. So, but like I said, once these games start, I think it will be less talking about this. But it is fun to get an inside look at. They're taking pictures of the meals, they're joking around, laughing, and a lot of the cats are fine. Like you mentioned, Ja Morant.
Yeah, Ja Morant. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think a lot of them are fine. I mean, Yeah. But this is what the media is going to do. The media is going to pick out the 4 or 5 players that say something bad, which who knows if these dudes are like dead serious anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we hit our homies all the time. We're like, hey man, this stuff is trash, and it's like it's not that bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, like, let's look at it. Like the media just plays into this. Oh, let's do this because they have nothing else to talk about. So like, that's the one thing I hate about it.
And,
but
where the NBA might have dropped the ball in luxury in the hotel rooms, the practice courts, man. Have you seen those?
Yeah, those are dope.
Like does each team have a specific practice court with their logos and stuff on it?
I think so. I'm not positive.
Because they wouldn't just make 4 or 5. I've seen dozens of practice courts that were brought into those rooms.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what the game courts look like.
I mean, the NBA's it's $1 billion industry, so like, they're spending a lot of money on this situation.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome. I think, as a basketball player, it would give me some type of good feeling to see like my logo.
Yeah, I mean the first night you got Clippers and Lakers.
Yeah.
Like what?
Right.
And so, but I part of me before the TBT, I was like, man, this is gonna be really difficult to like watch a game without people there, and are these guys gonna compete? And then you watch the TBT.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh, you know what? Like, and I get the TBTs actually, they're playing like for money, right? They're like, it's a little bit different vibe because they're playing to get the million. And I know a lot, these NBA guys are all paid already, but they have incentives in their contracts and stuff like that. And
it's since the beginning of basketball, bro. Like, you can tell playoff basketball is always different to begin with.
Right.
So you're going to feel that intensity. What I like about the TBT, switching gears here, is that you can feel the vibe when momentum changes. With nobody in the gym, you can still feel the vibe and the energy from the bench, from both benches. You can just see and feel when teams are making a run. You can just see that narrative kind of change without a lot of crowd noise, and that's what I like the most.
Yeah, and I think you're going to have that a lot in the NBA. I think the energy is going to have to come from within.
Yeah.
And I think it would be cool to like get back to that.
Like a team makes a run, you're gonna hear the other bench say, "Uh-oh," like, and
yeah. Usually you get it from the crowd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now you gotta generate it yourself. I'm excited to see like. I mean, that first game, I think New Orleans plays Portland, maybe first game, Grizzlies, and then you have Lakers.
Pelicans, Jazz, and
you got Lakers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like,
I do want to, because it's going to almost have an AAU vibe and feel to it, like multiple games going on separate courts sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's just, But I just think the one-on-one interactions, like, when there's a crowd going crazy and you and I have a matchup, we're chirping a little bit, but there's so much going on, ambient noise and stuff like that. Like, if I hit a shot and, like, your team has to call a timeout, like, you're going to feel that a little bit different.
Yeah, and then you look at, like, what they do, like, from a standpoint of, like, you can really hear what these guys are saying. Like, they're bleeping stuff out on TBT. Yeah. Like, it's going to go up a whole nother notch in the NBA. But, yeah, I mean, if they compete like these dudes in the TBT competed or compete, then I think it would be great.
And they're going to. I mean, everybody wants the championship bad, man. And, like, that's, And in the NBA, that's worth more than the money that the guys are,
Yeah, and I think they know the whole world's going to be watching too. I mean, there is nothing else that's going to be going on, so the whole world's going to be sitting there.
But you're right. After seeing the TBT, I'm like, this is going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was a little skeptical before.
Were you?
Yeah. I was like, man, I don't know if guys are going to, because it is. I mean, it's hard to play it is hard at times to play when nobody's watching. I mean, I played comparably when, in pickup games. But then once you get in there and you start going, you're just competitive. And I think that's kind of
and that muscle memory and the way you're playing, you don't think about,
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be great. I can't wait.
Yeah. So let's get back to the bubble. We talked a little about the practice situation, the hotel rooms, the food. Now you're seeing, thank you to social media, the hobbies and what guys are doing in their downtime. I did speak earlier. The main videos and images of players coming into the bubble, they had their gaming systems and a lot of gamers. So they had their game setups and stuff like that. Let's talk about some of the other situations that, the first thing I'll see recently is a lot of fishing going on.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fishing by NBA players that have never fished before. I saw Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons had a fish in his hand. Who knows if he caught it. Tried to toss it back in, just dropped it on the side concrete. So the whole Twitter was like, Ben Simmons can't even throw a fish into the water. That's how bad his jump shot is. So it's stuff like that. You see your country folk, Montrezl Harrell looking out there country, looking like he can fish and things like that. But I know you wanted to talk about a specific situation going on that you would want to do.
Yeah, JJ Redick.
Ice bath.
In the ice bath.
Doing what in the ice bath?
Shotgunning
beer in the ice bath.
Yeah, and then you have Miles Leonard doing the same thing.
He could probably shotgun 1 million beers.
He shotgunned that beer so fast, and it got ridiculous. But I think it's also you look at Tobias Harris and Boban. Did you see that little interaction? That stuff is really cool.
Because the Mavericks are trying to do Luka and Boban, and
right.
Remember Tobias Harris and Boban
had a whole show.
Yeah, facts.
So that interaction is so funny, man. And then you have I like the JJ thing because I think it shows that these guys are actually people and fun to be around and have personalities. They got to figure out, it's almost like being in summer school in college, right? That's what I kind of, and you can't go anywhere, but in a small town where I was, there was nothing to do anyway.
Right.
So it was that's kind of what and you had to come up with things, but you're kind of seeing guys' personalities come out, which I think is cool because I think a lot of people look at the NBA guys they're just basketball players, and that's always made me, upset.
Now, when do you think this shuts down as far as, there's a lot of just fun, new energy around because this is a new situation. When do you think a lot of this fun, JJ Redick, obviously?
Oh, I think 1 week before.
Okay.
So I think...
JJ Redick's not going to come off a win and...
Yeah, I think in 10 days.
Video. Okay.
I think in 10 days because I think then you have 1 week and then you play. So now everybody's going to be fighting for the playoff spot. So once the games start and stuff like that, it's going to be more game preps, recoveries, extra workouts maybe, stuff like that. I mean, it's going to be all basketball. I think, you're still in almost your training camp mode. So it's these teams don't want to push these guys too hard. So they'll probably go a couple hours, and ease themselves back into it. So they kind of got more time right now.
Because I think, when the games are going on, you have your rehab, you have your walkthroughs and stuff like that before, so you have less time throughout the day. Right now they have their workout and, they have all this free time.
Right.
But I think it's great. I hope there's a documentary. I hope the camera crews are involved.
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be one. I think it'd be really cool.
So let's move to a more taboo situation that's happening in the bubble as far as the possibility of women being sneaked into the bubble. Recently, what did you want to call her, an IG model? What was it? IG, would you call her a thought? We doing a thought situation?
I think that's what I said.
Yeah, an IG thought.
That's what I
claim
said.
that she's already been invited to the bubble, which I'm sure we've all been dudes before. Bored by ourselves, we'll say whatever, So I'm sure a lot of these cats are over here inviting everybody.
Yeah.
How do they get in? Who knows? But I believe the rule is even families and stuff can't even visit until, the second round of playoffs? But as an NBA player, I don't know what the security's like. I mean, how much money is it going to take to get cool with security and hotel situation B? I don't know how tight this bubble is.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it's almost like sneaking sneaking something into jail or something.
Yeah.
Like, if you got a couple security guards, like, yo, I'm gonna give
how
you
does that
$400,
process
$500. Let me hand you this. Yo, you gotta let her in. But the other thing is like, as soon as that happens, right? If it happens, then what happens to the bubble?
Yeah.
Like, does the whole team get shut down? Like, does that then I think the players got to be unselfish in the fact that, like, if you bring a girl in here, like, say it's the Clippers, then you're just saying that that's more important than winning a championship.
Facts.
So, but I think it's funny.
Dudes don't think that way. A lot of dudes don't think that way. There's a lot
Yeah,
of
well, I mean, if you
selfish-
don't think that way, then you just need to start thinking.
Yeah, facts.
Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, if you don't think that way, then start thinking. Like, it's only one way to do it. But I think it's funny. It's like almost like when you're in, I remember freshman, sophomore year in high school, like, figure out how to sneak girls into your parents' house. Like,
Right.
Like, how am I going to sneak out? Stuff like that. So I think it's like, but
And the scary thing is there's so much free time. A lot of these dudes are just around talking, plotting, having these same conversations you and I are having, but they actually see the scope of what's going on.
yeah. But then it goes back to, like, I would get cussed at by my mom or my dad. Like, these dudes their penalty could be an NBA championship. Like, it's a different.
Like, I honestly think there's so much money involved in this that any type of tampering of the bubble, like, it's not just, it's going to be some serious ramifications for sure.
Yeah, I think it just goes back to, like,
But
imagine being Adam Silver and sitting there and being like to any player and just being like, oh, let's just take, like, the Lakers, Clippers, and Bucks. If it's somebody on that team, just being like, so let me get this right. You wanted to sneak a girl in for one night, but you were competing for an NBA championship. Like, how do you handle that situation? Because, like, if it's the Lakers and then Adam Silver's going to kick the Lakers out of the playoffs, nobody's going to watch anymore.
Right.
So you got to, like, but if it's the Suns, they're gone. You're out of here.
But if you're the Suns, the thing is, they're gone quick anyways,
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Like,
from a
but
standpoint of, like, if
yeah.
it happened, like, yet tomorrow,
Yeah.
and it's like, say it was the Lakers and the Suns, same situation. Lakers, you're figuring out how we can make this work.
Mm-hmm.
Suns, you're like, yeah, no, we're just cutting ties. You know what I mean? It's like that one girl you really like, and then that other girl, like, it's just like, yo, if she screws anything up, she's gone. Like, I'm just cutting ties immediately.
It's
Right?
going to be interesting, man. But
Like, if they say they want to date you, you just cut them off.
I'm so thankful for social media with this situation. I'm so thankful for the IG thoughts speaking up about this. I want them to start calling out who they are. The rumors I've heard is Montrezl Harrell, and Montrezl Harrell popped up yesterday on Twitter yesterday evening and said, what are y'all talking about? I just woke up from a nap and I'm over here getting accused of some stuff. So it's going to get funny. And I think these IG models also want this attention. So if they are able to, like, start putting some screenshots up of who they're talking to, that just gives them instant credibility. Honestly, I mean, the IG girls, bro, like, this is a perfect opportunity for them to
Chase clout.
chase clout.
Yeah.
Because, like we talked about, like, bored in the hotel room, these dudes are firing DMs off at a rapid pace.
Yep, they're going to chase clout.
So a lot of these IG girls, that screenshot right there, like, that's going to, like, so please, IG girls, IG thoughts, whatever you thotties.
Chase clout.
Chase clout and give the world what we want to see. I don't want the bubble to break, bro, but I want the bubble to start to be like, oh, it's getting close.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. So you two go ahead and talk to us in the comments below. We covered a lot of stuff today. Let's talk about
Most importantly, chase clout or don't chase clout.
chase clout or don't chase clout.
Comment below.
Do you think the NBA players, are right for some of them that have complained? I want y'all to speak on both sides of it. I think that was a very important topic. Grateful for where you came from and things like that. I do think that it's going to be fun once the season starts. Nobody's going to talk about it. And not a lot of people have talked about it to begin with, but there have been some guys that are making fun of the food in the rooms and stuff.
Right.
We talked about Jahmi'us Ramsey, so let's talk about Jahmi'us Ramsey in the comments. You know what he liked about his game, and also let us know who you want us to talk about in the next episode. As always, I'm Mike Timmons. This is T. Relph, and no rules, baby.